All right, students, welcome to Module 3. I wanted to start out the announcement this week by showing you where we're headed. So where we're headed is a multimodal project. Don't let that name scare you. It just means that you're going to combining your text with visuals and spoken dialogue. So you're going to present and talk about your text that you create here. So what you're doing this first week is going to be part 1 and part 2. And that is you're going to be finding research to put into your project. And you're going to be choosing a structure and putting that research into certain elements within that structure. Okay. The topics that you can choose for this are something from your novel. So you should be starting to read those right now. If, for instance, you're reading the White Rose Society, it talks about resistance movements during World War II in the German youth arena. You can talk about resistance movements. You can talk about that specific one, right? So it can be some sort of topic. There's others. The Little Piece of Ground talks about, people trying to survive in a time of war that's actually currently happening, right? So you could talk about something related to that, right? So something from your novel. The other thing you can choose is some sort of decision that you are making. So it's a decision from your novel, or it can be a decision from your life. Okay, I'll have more to explain that, like an actual video, but that's where you're starting out, and you're going to start getting research on that this week. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the content. Yes, because I didn't make any changes. So number 1, after you've picked your topic, is to find research. This video will help you do that. This is an example of what you should be doing as you find your research. So this isn't something that you're going to turn in necessarily in this form, but you should have something like this. This is to help you start to gather quotes and your sources. Okay? After you start doing that, I want you to listen to this podcast, and they discuss how to be aware of the sources that you're looking at. I think this is a good week to talk about how to do that and the reliability of the sources you find. So after you listen to that, take one of these arguments, read through that, and then answer these questions. Okay. And then this will give you go into thinking about your sources and their reliability. It will also give you a chance to read an example of a different type of argument. So these are the types of argument you can make for your research project: an argument of fact, an argument of definition, an evaluation, or a proposal. In this next section, in the guided notes, you will actually read through whichever chapter, just one, that you think you would like to do for your project, and then discuss, what are the main things that you need for this type of argument. Okay? So answer those questions. And then at that point, you should be ready to create an outline. This is a video about how to make an outline. And this is an example of what the outline should look like. So I'm just going to click on that real quick. This is where I say the research notes, you really want to do that, even though it's not worth any points. I took the research notes and I put them into my outline. Okay? So I included that with some things that I would include, like I talk about, I think a good hook, it would be to talk about a typical birthday party. Here's a quote I'm going to use. Here's my thesis. These are all things that you should have in yours. So I have specific, what should I talk about in my background and context? I should talk about this definition that's important to my research project, what things that I want my reader to know about before. And then C, D, E here, these are all pieces of evidence I'm using to back up my argument. and F actually is getting into what I want my reader to do, F and G. And H is summarizing it up, okay? So mine might have one or two more points than yours. What I'm asking you to have are the basic points from an argument, which are, a thesis, an introduction, a thesis, background and context, pieces of evidence, 2 to 3, that support your thesis, and then an opposing viewpoint and a conclusion. And that's all reflected in the Sharenting Outline assignment sheet that's below here, and it's reflected in the project that you're going to ultimately turn in. And then along with that, I got off before I was there, but the outline also has a bibliography page, so you'll need to create one too. This is where you share the sources that you found. These last are all ways to create a bibliography page that I would recommend looking at. And then this is the big assignment you're turning in for next Monday. So that outline that I just showed you, this is the specifics about what you need to do for that outline. So there will be more, a little bit more than the example I showed you, because I want you to also discuss in a paragraph what your topic is, what your question, the research question you have, because you should always have some sort of question you're trying to answer in your research. I want you to talk about the type of argument you're going to make, and any questions you have around that. And then the second part is that research outline that I just showed you. And I have here a Google Doc that you can click on, and just like other Google Docs, you wouldn't turn this in. What is the topic of your project, right? But you would, in this paragraph, answer these questions and then just put in your own things. So a hook, you think of some engaging way you could start off your research project, okay? And hopefully those are all things you will use either in your text or your presentation. So that's the next week is going to be creating a visual presentation of the research you learned this week, and then presenting it to the class on a website called Flip. Okay, so that's what we do this week. Hopefully, yeah, I will put up a video describing more how to do the project, but I wanted you to get an idea of what we're going to this week, and I'm sorry this was so long. Hopefully it was helpful. All right.